Hi, I'm Kim Osorio,
What's up? I'm Malik Buie.
and we are the producers of a new documentary, Tale of the Tape.
How the mixtape revolutionized hip hop.
You like my background singer. I like that.
Yeah,
I like
pit.
that. I like that. Make sure you check it out on Amazon, Verizon, and Spectrum.
Check it out on Red Summer TV as well.
Thank you, allhiphop.com.
So, All Hip Hop is in the building with two legends, Malik Buie and Kim Osorio, who I have had relationships with for a very long time. Much respect. I'm glad y'all are on the platform. I
Thank you.
always wanted to get the both of you here live and in person. It's like a dream come true.
Right. Thank you.
It's a
Thank
dream come
Thank
true.
you, Chuck.
You are here promoting a documentary called Tale of the Tape.
Yep.
Malik will give us the full title, but tell us about this documentary, what started it, what prompted it, and how long it's been in the works.
Tale of the Tape, how the mixtape revolutionized hip hop. Man, we've been working on this for long time.
It's been a minute.
It's been a minute.
I can remember 2016. I feel like we were working in the edit or something.
Yeah, we were in the edit by that point. But yeah, look, mixtape culture has influenced hip hop infinitely. The biggest artists today, the greatest DJs ever. Mixtapes are the connective tissue.
Mm-hmm.
And through my years of storytelling, it always kind of just came up, and I was like, I have to tell this story.
Yeah.
It has to be told our way.
Right.
And that's what sparked it.
So tell us who's in this documentary. You have a lot of superstars, some of which, maybe a little bit before they were megastars, but you know, not only the DJs, but there's a lot of notables.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's always cool when you're able to like have a great relationship, rapport with these artists when they're on the cusp, right? That's when you get, their really true and unfiltered self. So from early Kendrick, Cole, Big Sean, Wiz Khalifa, Future. That Future interview was the first time Future had ever been.
Yeah,
his first press day.
He was sober as hell. He was really sober. I'm not joking.
Capri in the background.
He was mad clear. Like, I'm not trying to be funny, but it was before this thing that we see now.
Before he blew up. It's funny because I interview him maybe 3 years later. He's a huge superstar. He walks in the room, shades. I'm like, Future, what up?
Right. Yeah.
Whole different person. All good though. All good.
I was gonna say, I think that's the thing about storytelling and being a storyteller in this culture, right? One of the things we know is like how valuable content is, right? Like you sitting here today with this interview.
Yeah.
Tomorrow I could, be accepting my Oscar.
Yes, and I
have
have
this interview.
Yeah.
But I think that's something we tried to do really early on, right? Getting in with people, making sure, and as you can see, a lot of the interviews we got, even some of them I go back like over 10 years ago.
Definitely.
Right. Yeah. And so like throughout the years, just continuing to have this conversation with people and get them on, get the footage, get them on tape, and then be able to build the story afterwards.
Yeah, I can honestly say I'm proud to be in this documentary. I was glad to see me, and I
was glad to see me.
I was glad to see me.
Chuck Creekmer. I was glad to see me. Make sure you check out TaylorTape.com.
I'm in it.
You are in it. But you're a voice of the culture.
Look, I ain't gonna lie. After seeing the celeb status, all these major heavy hitters, I was like, yo, I'm gonna be in there for like 2 seconds. So to get some time,
you were in there longer than
that. You were in there. Let me tell you why you were in there longer than that. You know what I learned early on in my career when I first started doing interviews in television is that producers, when they're shaping these stories, can't shape the story that they want to tell with celebrities. That's just the truth, right? So you get somebody in a chair, you do an interview, and you're like, let me ask them the questions, and they got to promote stuff, and you can put it together. But when you're actually writing, because I wrote the doc, right? So when you're actually writing and you're putting the story together, you need people that are going to bridge the story, right? But by helping you tell it and convey what you want to convey. So journalists, we are storytellers, and a lot of times producers are pulling interviews that we're doing because we're providing the backbone to the story. So that's why.
Yeah.
The way you speak, you're speaking, you know, I'm not going to say as an outsider because we're very, very integrated into the culture, but not someone who's hands-on. It's one of the reasons why we decided to partner up with DJ Envy for the documentary, because we wanted to make sure, even in our storytelling, that we had someone on the inside that was actually a part of the mixtape culture. Like, we're fans of the culture, but he was actually hands-on as a DJ and coming up. You know, we've seen him kind of grow into his career. So it was the reason why we decided to collaborate with Envy.
Yeah. And, you know, speaking of that, the fight for legacy is always present. And I feel like journalists can tell it maybe more objectively than others. There were some points where I was like, is that, you know, is this the truth? Is that the truth? How much were you guys fighting for people jockeying for position, you know, as the first to do this, or, you know, whatever?
Look, we let people express themselves however they were going to do that. You know, there's a point in the documentary where SNS says, you know, Clue took my whole style from me. Right? Now, I'm sure Clue hears that and is like, what? That's not what happened, but that's okay.
Right.
You know what I mean? All these guys really were an integral part of the culture, really important for what they did to help push the music forward. All of them were pretty much like used the other one as a, you know, launching pad, or, you know, basically, you know, grabbing some knowledge from the other one.
Right.
You know what I mean? And pushing it forward. You know, Brucey B being one of the first. He may not be the first, but he's definitely one of the first. You know what I mean?
Brucey B?
Brucey B.
Yeah.
And then, you know, all the way up to a guy like Drama, who, you know, now has this amazing record label with super success, etc. It all traces back to that.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've learned is that if you aren't going to tell your own story, somebody is going to tell it for you. So the next time we call you for interview, come do the interview, because you will have to have, you know, it's better to have your own voice, right? To be able to say what your piece is. And I think that that's just part of storytelling. But a lot of times it's hard, right? Access to celebrities or people in the culture can be hard. People want to get paid for interviews. I'm not saying that was the case. Nobody go crazy.
They sure
I'm
do.
just saying these days in what we do, the game has changed.
Yeah.
So this is a project that was a labor of love that we poured our own time and money into. And, you know, we kind of go out just with our relationships and try to pull people in so we can tell the story. Because I think us telling the story is very, very critical, because if we don't tell it, somebody's going to tell it for us.
Who didn't you get that you wanted to get, or that said no or didn't make time?
I think there were a lot of people that we went after. I'll let Malik speak because he did the interviews primarily, and I don't have firsthand knowledge of. I know who wasn't in there where I might have been like, "What happened to so and so or this?" And I was a very big. I was very big on make sure we have women speaking, and that was even hard, right? Because the representation of women just across the board in hip hop is always very low, right? I think that's one of the first things I told you. I was like, "What women do we have?"
Over and over again.
Yeah.
You said, where are the women? Where are the women?
And he said over and over.
And that is true.
That was
Thank you,
one
Diamond
of my
Cuts.
big questions.
Thank
too.
you, DJ Diamond Cuts. She was the first woman interview we
Philly?
did.
Yeah.
Also, Vashti. Thank you, Vashti.
Vashti, yeah.
And Karen Civil. Karen Civil did an interview as well. You know.
So we did have, like, you know, some voices from women in the culture.
Yeah. Shout out to the ladies.
And Jazzy Joyce.
Jazzy
Yes,
Joyce.
Jazzy Joyce. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
In regards to who we didn't get, I mean, we went out to everybody. We really wanted to get Ron G. We weren't able to get Ron G.
I was going to say, yeah, we really wanted to get Ron G.
Money.
No. I don't know what he want. I don't know what he want.
Yeah.
But
And
if it's too
we don't know.
important to not-
Yeah, he's a very
Yeah.
big part of the story that we
Youngest in
didn't get, I
charge.
think. Yeah.
Youngest in charge. Yeah. You know, look, man, Ron is super talented. He was, you know, I want to say started the Blend mixtape. You know what I mean? And then was producing for other artists. Regardless of whether or not he was going to come through and do an interview, we were going to
Cover it, and we did. You know, it's still covered in the documentary, I think, from other people's POV.
Why aren't there that many women mixtape DJs? I mean, there are some, but it's
Why aren't there that many women CEOs? Or you know
well,
what I'm
it's
saying?
not the same though.
I know what you're saying, but
Not quite.
I feel like we as women are always fighting to be heard, and I believe that I'm sure there are a lot of mixtapes. It's like the way you define mixtapes is different these days, right? So like I'm thinking of back then. I remember being at the Source magazine and having the front desk call me and say, Lazy K is here to see you. And I'm like, I don't know Lazy K. And her crew came in like, like demanding to be covered in the magazine. Not demanding, I shouldn't say it like that, but just kind of like, we want to be heard, right? Why, this is one of the only representations of female mixtape DJ out.
Right.
And, I thought that was commendable. I was like, oh shit, I appreciate that. I respected that. So I feel like it's just always been an uphill battle for women.
Yeah. By the way, I used to love the Murder Mommies. They weren't
they
weren't
came up
only
to the office.
DJs, but yeah, I used to love them.
Lady L,
Yes.
right? Lady L.
Yes, yes. They gave me a jacket and everything. I still got the jacket. I still got the jacket in my
You
basement.
gotta wear that next interview.
That's funny.
So what was what was y'all's favorite mixtape era? So there's the early mixtape era, then there's sort of the golden age and the rapper mixtape era, then there's even internet mixtape. Like what was your favorite?
Mine was probably golden era, 94 to 97. Doo-Wop. Doo-Wop 95 Live was my favorite mixtape. Period.
Okay.
Right? One of the first mixtapes that had every stars from every borough together on one. Doo-Wop, he's dope lyricist. His crew, the Bounce Squad, can spit. They would come down Morgan State, do TTC parties, like amazing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's my favorite era.
I think my favorite era is early 90s, right? When I was out there going to buy the mixtapes as they came out, listen to music first. But then I don't want to show my age, so yeah.
Okay. I think my favorite, honestly, as crazy as this might sound, is the very beginning of the internet era.
Really?
Yeah, because they were doing stuff I couldn't do. Like I named Dirty Harry when we talked to Envy. Dirty Harry was putting these incredible, I guess, based in the early computer era, and his mashups or whatever were like, I can't do that. I could blend back in the day and stuff. Like, I couldn't obviously get certain rappers on tape, but yeah, Dirty Harry's like probably one of the unheralded, heroes.
Queens is like a breeding ground for mixtape DJs. It's kind of like football players in Florida, Texas. Like they all come a lot come from Queens. Like Envy said, J-Del and Rello and a bunch of other guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. So what do you guys want people to take away from this documentary? I almost want to call it a mixtape because it's like you guys put together a pretty impressive ensemble of people. What's the takeaway?
I mean, I want them to understand and appreciate the legacy and the history of what mixtape DJs have contributed to the culture. That's number one. I want them to understand that, your biggest artist, your favorite artist, this is truly where they come from.
I would say I really want people to start getting into the nuances of storytelling in hip hop, right? Going deeper into the history of the culture, into people that aren't as celebrated, but that were really the foundation of what we see as a billion-dollar business today.
Is there going to be a part 2 of Tale of the Tape?
Yes.
There is, definitely.
Yes.
Several parts.
Several parts.
We want to keep this going.
Okay.
And I think that there are definitely all of these genres that we can explore beyond just the mixtapes, beyond DJing, right? But there's so much going on. There's so many little pockets of hip hop, right? And right now in this day and age of social media, I feel like everything is so, like everyone is just following the same story, right? You wake up, what's the story of the day? And it's just there. And then it's like we're programmed to follow that, but I want to start getting deeper into the layers of it all.
Yeah, one thing I noticed that it wasn't as much representation of the South and West Coast.
I feel like I'm back at the source when you ask me that question.
Why?
Because I'm from New York. I'm from the Bronx.
It's
But
not a-
I dealt with that when I was at the source, right? It was always, hey, why y'all not representing these other cultures, right? I feel like as you expand and as you grow, kind of like when I think of a mixtape, I think of it's starting here in the 5 boroughs. But right, as you expand and grow, you start to add people that come from those other regions to help you define that story. Because I could never tell you what was going on in West Coast. Not me,
Yeah.
you know? Maybe a little bit of the South.
But as a storyteller, isn't that your...
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. But I always like to make sure that the story I'm telling is very authentic. So I dive into the story. I'm going to go get the interviews, but like I like to partner with people who are actually from within there. So I feel like that's where we want to grow into, right? We want to be able to expand, and I'll let Malik continue on that as well, just because I don't want to like,
That was a defensive...
Yeah, it was because, yeah, it was. It was because, I have often had to be defensive in that argument when it comes to the representation of what we did back then at the source in hip hop, right? You hear it all the time. And I kind of came into my position there in the year 2000. So even though I was writing for the magazine before that, I took over in that position around the time where the South was dominating.
Okay.
So I had to make it my business
Right.
to find out, because my preference is always, my hip hop expertise comes from here.
Yeah.
But I had to go into the South and really make sure that we were representing where hip hop was going, because it moved to Atlanta back then and I ain't seen it since. No, but I'm kidding. Did you know what I'm saying?
Right,
like,
though.
yeah,
You're right. It moved to Atlanta. I mean,
everyone lives down there.
that's
The whole New York is in Atlanta.
Yeah.
They have Queens Day in Atlanta. I'm like, what the hell is that?
They got Bronx Day. In
They
Atlanta,
got,
too.
yeah. When you go to Atlanta, they have like,
Yeah.
I'm like, what's happening?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
haven't gone
So, no, I'm not going to Atlanta to go to Bronx Day.
That's crazy.
But there will be other.
You going to Queens Day?
No, I'm from Brooklyn, but I will go and hang out because I know a lot of friends.
Right.
that
They
I
don't
went
have
to school
Brooklyn
with.
Day in Atlanta?
Not yet.
Not yet. It's coming.
It's coming.
they
They,
gotta
don't
have
want
Brooklyn
Brooklyn Day
Day.
in Atlanta.
Yeah.
But but no, there will be other parts where we explore Southern DJs from the West
Right.
Coast, etc.
I think that's part of the expansion too, as we continue to tell these stories.
My homie Mr. Glass said they had crazy tapes on the West Coast. Crazy tapes.
I believe it, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I didn't, I wasn't out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not an excuse, Kim.
No, it is an excuse.
That's not.
It's only 1 hour in this documentary.
Right. That's a
Yeah.
fact.
It's 1
That's a fact.
hour. So
you
we have
gotta-
to start
you
with the foundation, and then we're going to go from there.
They'll love the LA version. They're
Yeah,
gonna
there
love
you
it.
go.
They're gonna love it.
Who's your favorite rapper mixtape artist or rapper mixtape? And which is kind of touched on in the doc, but it's not fully. That could be a whole hour in itself. I'll tell you mine. Well, okay, 50 Cent was. Let's just put 50 to the side.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
I say Joe Budden. Mood Music, the first one. For me.
I'm gonna go Big Sean in the Finally Famous series.
Okay.
I'm going to plead the fifth.
Plead the fifth. Why?
Because I might have a favorite and I might not want to say their name and shout it out. Because I just don't feel like it today.
Okay. All right.
They be like, did you see that?
Okay. Okay.
She bigged that person up. Not today.
All right.
Today, tomorrow.
All right.
Tomorrow. It's my Gemini energy.
All right. So what's next for y'all, and what do y'all want people to walk away from this doc?
So again, what's next is there will be several other documentaries in the same for the series, the Tale of the Tape series.
Okay.
Right. Straight up. I want people to follow Red Summer TV, follow Tale of the Tape
Okay.
on IG.
Okay.
And you'll get a lot of behind the scenes footage, and you'll see what's coming up next in our projects.
Okay. So Kim, back to you. Was it Kanye West? Somebody said.
This interview is brought to you by Chuck Creekworm, AllHipHop.com.
Never mind. Never mind. All right. All right. What's next for you, Kim?
Always grinding. I am still kind of heavy into the television world. So I'm working on a proof of concept right now for a particular network. And a lot of people know me from some of the shows that I've just recently produced, Impact New York being one. So it's just really being able to put our own time into the projects that we love to do. So I have a couple. It's hard for TV because with TV you can't say what you're working on, right? So like a lot of the stuff that I've worked on that has been on air recently, I did 2 years ago.
Right.
You know, I mean, this one is 10 years old, but when you're in it and when you're working on it, you can't put it out there.
Yeah.
So a lot of times when people say, "What's next for you?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm working on this project that you know." It's very secretive. It's a lot. Yeah.
NDAs.
He said NDAs.
So last question: who won the battle, J. Cole, Drake, or Kendrick Lamar?
I think that's an easy question.
Well, answer it then.
I mean, it was obviously Kendrick.
Okay.
I told you he was my top artist
Yeah.
for the last 2 years on Apple Music. So
Still, Jay was.
I'll tell you this. Over the last year, I have had to call people to get my 17-year-old daughter tickets to the Drake concert, right? Because she's big on Drake and Kendrick. And after not Like Us, she was in my car and she was rapping the records and I tried to put on a Drake song and she said, "No, we don't do Drake anymore."
Fickle.
Wow.
And I was like, "Oh, wow. These kids are really serious about this." So that already made me say like, okay, he clearly won.
Things changed.
Yeah, the kids are riding with Kendrick, at least from what I'm seeing.
Listen, I've before you answer, because I still want your answer. I've got a friend from Canada who speaks at high schools. He's a rapper who speaks on the high school level in Canada. In Toronto, let me specify. He said every high school he went to since this whole thing started has said Kendrick won.
Hands down.
Which is, it was mind blowing.
I talk to kids. They get in my car like, this is,
Yeah.
I mean, I think he won, but this is what the kids are saying too.
Yeah,
So
right. And by the way, a certain influencer business person still says Drake won. And I was like, all right, homie. I don't know what you're trying to
the person that was just in here?
accomplish. No, someone else.
Oh, I was like, yeah. I mean, people are gonna pick sides
Yeah.
and be on the side they want to be on. But I think it's very obvious.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the last song by Drake, Not Like Us, put it over the top, right? I was actually impressed by Drake's record before that. It was like 7 minutes. If he didn't do like all of the singing,
Oh.
yeah, he should not done the singing and addressing Ross and ASAP, and it would have went straight at Kendrick.
Exactly.
I think we're speaking differently.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go with Kendrick all day. J. Cole wanted to bow out, and that's totally fine.
Yeah.
If we're talking like basketball terms, he reminds me of like Kevin Durant. Like Kevin Durant don't really want to. He can be the man, but he don't want to be the man.
Yeah.
And he's fine with that. We know he's talented. We know he's dope, and that's fine.
Plus, Kendrick is in the Tale of the Tape documentary, so we can't get up here and say
And Cole.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Tail of the tape. Shout out to them. It was good seeing J. Cole with a fresh Caesar.
Tobias Harris. That's what they say. They call him Tobias Harris.
Oh,
It's Tobias Harris look.
Yeah, definitely. All right, thank you for joining us at All Hip Hop. Y'all are two legends who we will have individually in the near future.
thanks, Chuck.
Thank you for having us.
All right.